Hello everyone, my name is Al, I'm a geologist, and this video is being filmed in my living room because it is the place in my apartment that has the best lighting. I'm not a fancy YouTuber, I don't have the cool lights, and I don't have the cool tripods or cool cameras. That combined with the fact that I am filming this in my living room and I have to put everything back when I am done, means that every single video the setup will be slightly different. But hey, variety is the spice of life. So I was really happy to get such a positive response on my first video, so I decided to go ahead and film my second one. I actually had a specific episode in mind of Steven Universe, and that is because it is the episode that has a geological inaccuracy, and specifically the geological inaccuracy that annoys me the most throughout the entire series of Steven Universe. So I decided to go with that one. So today we will be watching Too Far, which is the 21st episode of the second season of Steven Universe. Once again, my dog is behind me. If you're wondering what her name is Nico, and she is a very good girl. Also, the obligatory apology and disclaimer that my hair looks terrible and I may mess with it throughout the video. I did not get a chance to get a haircut before everything closed down. Without further ado, let's watch the episode of Steven Universe titled Too Far.
That's why the people on this world believe in garnets, amethyst, and pearl, and Steven!
Log date 7112. It's the third rotation of the Earth since commencements of a collaborative approach to stopping the cluster.
I've finished drawing up the blueprints for the drill head. Peridot, if you could come take a look at this.
Remind me again why I should listen to you? Oh, right. The Pearl here has exhibited an aptitude for engineering that I begrudgingly respect. Though that doesn't explain the spontaneous singing while crying.
Why did you give her that?
Well, we did destroy all her stuff. I thought it might make her feel a little better.
Claude! Bloody Claude! Running out of ways to say Claude.
Alright, so, there isn't anything explicitly geology related in so far, but I did remember something that I wanted to say about Peridot, but in the last video, but I didn't get a chance to because I had talked for a very long time. Peridot is the first gem that we see on the show actively coming from Homeworld to Earth. I always thought that it was pretty funny that Peridot was the sort of first invader from space that we see, because Peridot is actually a gemstone that can be found in rocks from space. That's right, Peridot can be found in meteorites. Meteorites are traditionally classified into 3 different groups depending upon their composition. Stony iron, or iron. Stony meteorites are those that are primarily rock. Stony iron are a mixture of rock and metal, and then iron are mostly metal. You can probably guess that these terms are rather antiquated and outdated. They're not really considered super scientific anymore. And if you were to see a scientist classify a meteorite nowadays, they wouldn't necessarily use those terms. They would use a different term that more accurately describes the overall composition of the rock. Within the stony iron meteorite group, there is one specific class of meteorite called a palisite, and palisites are distinguished by the fact that they are very rich in gemstone quality olivine, aka peridot. I thought it was funny. Other people might not think it was funny, and I don't know if it was intentional, but either way. Meteorites.
All right. I chased away those cows. Let's get to work.
Before we begin, would you mind unfusing? It's making me incredibly uncomfortable. What'd I say?
Do we really have to do that?
Her having free reign of the place made me incredibly uncomfortable.
Ugh.
Here you go, Pearl.
Oh, good. No. No. I said I needed tungsten. Tungsten?
What does tungsten look like?
Tungsten.
Pearl mentions tungsten and that they need tungsten to build the drill that they will be using to go into the Earth's mantle, core, both. They're going into the Earth and they need to make a drill in order to go into the Earth, and Pearl wants to use tungsten to build it. That's actually a very fun chemistry, scientifically accurate sort of comment here. Tungsten is an element on the periodic table. It is a metal element, to be more precise, and its symbol is W because its other name is wolfram, which I believe is the actual German name for it, which would mean that it's pronounced Wolfram, but that's beside the point. Tungsten is a very tough and robust element because it actually has the highest melting point of any of the discovered elements. This makes it very useful for applications that will involve it being exposed to a lot of heat. So it makes sense that they would want to make the drill out of tungsten because they're going to be going into the Earth and it gets very, very hot there. So good work on providing the best possible metal to build the drill, Steven Universe.
The strangest thing is, Amethyst, you think you have to listen to them? You're the one who should be in charge! That's your best joke yet.
No, really. Pearl is a pearl. Garnet is a fusion. I don't even know what he's supposed to be.
Hey!
You're the only crystal gem that's actually a gem.
What?
You outrank everyone on your team. They should be listening to you. You're a strong, singular, fully functional soldier, despite the fact that you're defective.
Defective?
Well, sure. You're small.
So?
Well, you're not supposed to be. Hold on. Wait. Let me guess. This is the hole you came out of. Too small, too low. The exit marks look about 500 years newer than every other hole. This place must have been empty when you came out. No wonder you have no idea what you're supposed to look like.
Peridot, what was I supposed to look like?
Well, you're a quartz. They're huge, loyal soldiers. You should be twice your size. Broad-shouldered, intimidating, but you simply stayed in the ground too long.
There are a couple of different ways that minerals can form, but I'm going to be focusing on one specific method by which minerals form, because it seems to be what is described here with how amethyst formed. And that specific method is the cooling or crystallization of a magma or lava. Now, when I talk about magma or lava, any geologist will immediately know that we are going to be talking about igneous petrology, which is the specific subfield of geology that directly researches and studies igneous rocks, which are one of the three groups of rocks. They are distinguished by the fact that they form from a magma or lava that has cooled. Magma and lava are actually the same thing. It's just that magma is when molten rock is underground, and lava is when molten rock is at the surface. In geology, we use the term texture to describe the size of grains and the distribution of the grain sizes within a rock. And in igneous petrology, the texture of the rock directly correlates to how long it takes for that rock to form. How long did it take for the magma or lava to cool? On one end of the textural spectrum in igneous rocks, we have obsidian. Obsidian is a rock that doesn't actually have a crystalline structure. It doesn't have any individual crystals in it. Instead, it is an amorphous collection of silicon, aka it's glass. On the other end of the textural spectrum in igneous rocks, we have rocks that we call pegmatites. Pegmatites are rocks that have very, very large crystals, like extremely large. Like you would be very surprised if you saw a pegmatite and you saw the huge chunks of mica that they sometimes have. It's pretty great. Going off of what you hear on Steven Universe, you might think that the pegmatites form when you have a magma or lava that cools very quickly, and the obsidian will form when the magma or lava cools very slowly. However, it's the opposite. Obsidian happens when you have magma that reaches the surface, is erupted as lava, and the temperature change between underground and the surface is so distinct that the lava dries almost immediately, too quickly for crystals to form, and instead it forms a glass. Meanwhile, pegmatites happen when you have magma that is deep underground, and the temperature changes are very gradual, allowing for the magma to have a longer time to cool, and thus allowing for the crystals to grow much, much larger. This specific geology inaccuracy probably upsets me so much because there was one time when I was TAing Geo 100 and I accidentally said that you get large crystals when it cools quickly and you get small crystals when it cools slowly, and then a student corrected me and it was very embarrassing. I swear I know what I'm doing. Sometimes I just misspeak. If Amethyst were to have actually stayed underground much longer than she was supposed to, she would end up being huge, not short. But, I mean, the design of Amethyst is short, and they wanted Amethyst to come out of the earth later than everyone else so that she missed out on the whole gem rebellion. So, I mean, I get what the creators of Steven Universe were doing here, but it's wrong.
Geometrically speaking, yes. When you think about it, it's all so funny.
Amethyst?
Hey, soldier, maybe you can help me get this hunk of drill off. See? Look at that! You can do everything a normal quartz can do. Let's head back and shove this thing in Pearl's face. Hey, Amethyst isn't laughing when I do these things. Why isn't she laughing?
Peridot, you really hurt her feelings.
What?
You were pretty mean to her at the kindergarten.
Mean? No way! I was being cool. Amethyst loved it. She's probably telling the Pearl how much fun she had now. Amethyst, hi, Amethyst! She won't even look at me. It's making me feel smaller.
You feel bad. That's how you made her feel.
Who cares about how she feels? Who cares about any of you? You're all just rocks, ruddy muddy clumps beneath my gravity connectors!
Peridot is wrong. None of the gems are rocks. Pearl is a mineraloid, Amethyst is a purple variety of quartz, Garnet is a mineral group, and Steven is some hybrid of some sort. None of them are rocks.
Listen,
Just spit it out.
Why are you Earth ones so difficult? Log date 7112. This entire planet is backwards. There hasn't been one instance of correct behavior exhibited by any one of these crystal gems. I have concluded that they are all defective. But I am no better. I failed my mission and now I'm working with the enemy. And I can't even get that right. I have apparently hurt Amethyst's feelings, which was not my intent. If I've damaged my standing with the best gem here, then I've made a serious mistake. I'm still learning. I hope you understand. I want to understand. I'm sorry. Peridot, Facet 5, end log. As you could see.
Oh, Peridot.
Hey,
Peridot. Thanks. But you're still a nerd.
I'll be sure to add that to my notes.
How do you feel?
Big.
Alright, now that they have stopped testing the tornado sirens, I can talk. That was the episode of Steven Universe titled Too Far. There's actually another geology-related thing that I wanted to talk about. I actually misremembered and thought that they would go back to the kindergarten, so they would go there and then they would do stuff and then they would go back in the episode. I misremembered. which is unfortunate because I was going to use that second trip to the kindergarten to talk about something, so I might as well talk about that right now. So the kindergarten is the place where new gems are created on Steven Universe. You have an injector that injects something into the ground, and I believe that what it does is that stuff gives sentience to the gems that already exist there. If that's the case, I have one question for Rebecca Sugar, which is, where are all the feldspars? Where are they? Feldspar is the most common mineral in the Earth's crust. Where is it? There's a billion quartzes. Obviously, you know that quartz is a very common mineral, but feldspar is more common. So, where is it? Where's the plagioclase? Where's the anorthite? Where's the amazonite? Where is it? Anyways, one of the side effects of the kindergarten is that giving the gems sentience causes the ground to sort of lose fertility and vitality, so things don't actually grow in there anymore after it has been used to create new gems. This sort of trope where the bad guys take all of the nutrients out of an area, preventing anything from growing there again, is a very common trope in sci-fi and fantasy. But with the specific variation of the trope that we see on Steven Universe, I can actually talk about it in a scientific, geologic way. If I were to use a scientific way of describing what we see with the kindergarten on Steven Universe, I would describe it as being something along the lines of the gems gaining sentience causes them to leave, removing crucial nutrients from the local ecosystem and disrupting nutrient cycles. So a nutrient cycle is essentially just the path that different nutrients take throughout an ecosystem. Where they end up, how they travel from non-living things to living things, back and forth, how they are transferred between different parts of the ecosystem. Nutrient cycles are a fairly important concept in agriculture, biology, soil science, and geology. There are probably other disciplines that are concerned about nutrient cycles, but those are the ones that I can think of right now. A lot of people, when they first learn about nutrient cycles, don't realize that there's a geologic aspect to it. But there is a geologic aspect to it because a lot of nutrients are actually stored in rocks and minerals in the soil, and in order for living things to have access to them, you need to break apart those rocks and minerals, and then you can use it. A good example of a nutrient cycle that involves a step where the nutrient is trapped in a rock or mineral would be the phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus is a non-metal element on the periodic table, and it is considered to be both an essential nutrient and a limiting nutrient. Essential nutrients are those that are required for life. Everything requires phosphorus. You might not realize it, but you have a lot of phosphorus in you. The backbone of the DNA molecule is made of phosphate, and part of your teeth is actually comprised of a phosphate mineral called apatite. So, you have a lot more phosphorus in you than you might have thought. Phosphorus is also considered a limiting nutrient because the amount of phosphorus that is available directly correlates to how many organisms can be in the ecosystem. Phosphorus is particularly considered to be a limiting nutrient for plants. It is one of the three main elements that are crucial for plant health. The other two are nitrogen and potassium. I'm going to be talking about a very simplified version of the phosphorus cycle because nutrient cycles are actually very complex and difficult, and I don't want to get into the whole thing right now, and I also don't want to have to draw up a super complicated diagram, so I'm just going to be giving you a very simplified version of how the phosphorus cycle works. This isn't the be-all, end-all for the phosphorus cycle. If you have a quiz on the phosphorus cycle next week, do not use my diagrams as notes. This is just basic. So, we're going to start off the phosphorus cycle with apatite. Apatite is a mineral that has a hardness of 5, and it is a phosphate mineral, meaning that it contains a lot of phosphorus. The apatite is then broken down. It can be broken down by weathering, erosion, or even by living things actively breaking it apart. And then the phosphorus stored in the apatite is released into the soil. Once it's in the soil, the phosphorus is then taken up by plants through their roots for them to use. Then an animal comes along and eats the plant, and now it has the phosphorus. Eventually, the animal passes away and decomposes, resulting in the phosphorus leaching out into the closest lake, river, or ocean. And once it is in a body of water, the phosphorus can then form apatite once again. Like I said, the phosphorus cycle is very complex, and this is a very simplified version, and honestly, this isn't completely accurate. That's better. Nutrient cycles are complex, but they are very important because they control the fertility and vitality of an area. When you remove a source of a limiting or essential nutrient from an ecosystem, that is going to directly affect the life that is there. So the way that I would scientifically interpret the actions of the kindergarten would be that the gems leave and all of the nutrients that they had stored in them are no longer available in the ecosystem for living things to take up and use, resulting in a place that is effectively dead. That's a bit of a grim note to end it on. Sorry about that. But I had a good time watching this episode. It's a very good feelsy episode, I think. It makes Peridot a bit more likable. So I realized as I was editing that I forgot to say the thing that YouTubers say when they make videos. So here it is. If you liked this content, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more like it. And I hope that you have a nice day.